Getting trapped.
Man trapped in ATM gets withdrawn by cops. A Texas contractor found himself held captive by a cash machine and had to go old school to get out. The worker was changing the locks for the ATM vestibule when he was locked in because he left his swipe card in the truck. Poor fella also left his phone, so he couldn't call for help. But the ATM was working just fine, and what he did have was a pen and paper. He resorted to slipping notes through the receipt slot, begging people to please help. I'm stuck in here and I don't have my phone. Please call my boss. Unfortunately for him, everyone who got the note thought it was a bizarre joke, and the poor man was stuck for 2 hours until someone took it seriously enough to call the cops. Even the cops didn't think it was for real, even after they heard a little voice coming from the machine. Still, they eventually came to the man's rescue, kicking down the door to finally get him out. Now there's a man who's never been so happy to get away from a cash machine. Crazy! That poor puppy. New Year's Eve was harrowing for one Terrier, who almost lost a paw to an escalator at Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport. The dog was flying back to New York with its humans that night, and was walking up an escalator when its hind leg was swallowed by the escalator guard. The freaked out owners attempted to free their pooch, only to get bitten by the distressed animal. Airport security tried to help, but couldn't free the pup without the proper tools. Firefighters eventually saved the day, freeing the Terrier from the escalator's clutches and returning it to its humans, both of whom refused treatment for their bites. The dog wasn't seriously injured, but the incident should serve as a warning to keep animals off the moving steps.
Not so fly now, greedy bug gets tongue stuck on frozen steak. Flies. Nature's little devils. Just when you think you've killed one, another 5 show up in its place. They get in your food, clothes, hair, kitchen, everywhere! So it's with delight we present this little pest who finally got some comeuppance. This wee bugger saw a juicy steak and thought he'd have himself a piece. In a scene straight from Dumb and Dumber, the fly hilariously gets his tongue stuck in the frozen meat. The video was captured by a New Zealand photographer who eventually decided to let the bug free. If it were up to us, he'd have been dead meat, just like a steak.
American exchange student gets stuck in stone love crack. This American exchange student in Germany found himself literally caught between a rock and a hard place when he accepted his friend's dare. There's a statue on the campus of Tübingen University, which is just south of Stuttgart, Germany, called Pichakan. That's Peruvian for lovemaking, and the statue is shaped like a giant vagina. So of course it makes perfect sense that 2 goofy exchange students from the US decide to try to reenact their own births on a dare for all of Instagram to see. However, it seems that they failed to realize that this was only a representation of the female organ, and they both forgot to bring some industrial strength lube. In the end, the stuck student was freed from the anatomically correct crevasse while getting laughed at by locals, jeered by firefighters, and pointed at by little kids. Bunch of freaks.
Curious Chinese woman gets stuck between 2 giant rocks.
Christy! Help!
A recurrence of 127 hours in real life in China? Luckily, it was only an hour, and no penknife was needed. Curiosity killed the cat, but for this woman in China, curiosity got her stuck between 2 large rocks. The woman was touring in Mudanjiang in Heilongjiang province, northeast China last week, when she discovered a tiny gap and decided to see if she could squeeze through. Although curiosity is highly praised in many ways, we really don't encourage it under certain circumstances, because what happened was that her bottom and breast got stuck in the gap, resulting in her unable to get out. It took 12 firemen about 20 minutes to reach her, and another 30 minutes of lifting and pulling with ropes to get her out. So, what does the story tell us? Don't be a moron and think you can squeeze into 6-inch wide spaces, because you can't.
Oh, crap baskets! Norwegian Cato Bernstein Larsen got into some seriously deep shit for a friend last week. How deep? This deep! His buddy lost his phone down a South Norway crapper, and being the slimmer of the two, Larson decided to jump in on after it. He became trapped in waist-high excrement inside a sewage tank that's only emptied once a year. Larson was terrified and said it was disgusting as hell. We can only imagine the horror. 4 firemen were called in to yank Larson out of the poop chute, and the crapper was destroyed during the rescue. We said good riddance. Who knows what kind of Nordic poop demons were lurking in there. Larson was taken to hospital and was reportedly a little traumatized, but no, overall okay. And at the end of it, he got his buddy's phone back. Now that's what we call a true friend.
Marathon German cave rescue effort enters final stage. A marathon 10-day rescue operation to recover an injured man from Germany's deepest cave system is about to enter its final stage, officials have said. 52-year-old Johann Westhauser and 2 friends were climbing inside the 1,000-meter deep Riestinger cave in the Bavarian Alps on June the 8th when he was injured during a rockfall. Following the accident, one of the men remained with Westhauser while the other made a 12-hour climb to the surface to seek help. The marathon rescue effort has involved carrying Westhauser through the network of caves to a series of staging camps. Westhauser and the underground rescue team of 15 cavers and 2 doctors are now at the final camp around 400 meters below the surface, where they were set to rest before tackling the final leg that includes a narrow vertical stretch where they will be buffeted by water. Westhauser was one of a group of cavers who discovered the massive underground cave system in the 1990s.
Raccoon rescued after getting stuck in a sewer grate. Living the American dream. Shopping, shooting, and who can forget? Eating. The US has gotten so gargantuan that even our animals are fat. Last week, the Zion City Police Department received a call about an animal in distress. Apparently, the raccoon, which we'll call Fats, has been living the life. Unfortunately, Fats hasn't hit the gym lately, so has put on some pounds. And that's why when Fats was trying to get out of the sewer the other day, he got stuck. Officers were first on the scene and were unable to get Fats free, so they had to call in some public works guys to get the job done. Maybe it's all the gluten in Fats' diet.
English teen Ella Birkenhoff gets stuck in a drain trying to retrieve her phone. As culture icon Andy Warhol once said, everyone will get their 15 minutes of fame. It's especially true if you can rock the drainage system like these superheroes. English teenager Ellen Birkenhoff definitely got her moment, Teenage Ninja Turtle style. The 16-year-old was talking to her friend and went to put her iPhone in her pocket and oops, it slipped down the drain. In a desperate bid to fish the mobile device out, the girl went after it, legs first. And ladies and gentlemen, the rest is history, as you can see. The teen sealed her fate, and the drain. The more she struggled, the more she was stuck. Mobile phone shop employee Tim Richards saw Ella and tried to pull her out. Someone else also ran to get Ella's mom. Her mother later said she was worried at first, but as soon as she saw that Ella was fine, she laughed her head off. Firefighters were then summoned, and a minute later, Ella was free from the drain. The teen was uninjured, but unfortunately, her phone did not survive the ordeal.
Raccoon freed after getting head stuck in drain. A raccoon found itself in a bit of a tight spot after a too tiny sewer grate got in the way of freedom. Folks at the Veterans Affairs Medical Center in Northampton, Massachusetts, chanced upon the critter on Wednesday and figured he needed a hand. The little guy's head was poking out from a hole in a sewer grate, and he looked absolutely distraught. So an animal control officer was called in to help him get unstuck. She lifted the metal grate out first, and then with some elbow grease and actual grease, finally managed to free him. The furry fellow looked like he was still reeling from shock when the officer wrapped him in a towel, but he was uninjured, just probably a lot oily. But sweet freedom.